I told all my friends and family that I was moving to the States to go and be a big superstar wrestler. And then we got stopped by the pandemic. Started being worried that I was going to be that guy in the pub when I'm an old man telling everyone that I was this close to making it. But it was out of my hands. It was out of my hands. It wasn't my fault. I was going to be on WWF television. It feels like a lot of hard work paying off. Basically, both of us have been wrestling for 15 years. That's more than half of JD's life. It's half of my life. This is why we did it. We did it to get out here, to get to a company like NXT within the WWE, and to just show everyone what we've been striving to do for all this time. To be in those spots like the main event, in matches that have been so well received. Basically, it's everything that we set out to do and more. And it's a little, we're not going to rest on all our roles. We're not going to stop here. That's still just a taster of what's to come from us. In Blackpool, for example, that in itself was a special event. Even if it never went any further, we were all more than aware of how special that actual event in itself was going to be. You could feel it in the audience, you could feel it in the crowd, that people had high expectations and a lot of anticipation for something special. It was so easy to get caught up just in that moment. The fact that it was then picked up as a top match of the year, and people talking about it, and it has helped us get here. It's almost a bonus to what it was, because anytime we get put in a match in those situations in Cardiff, there was a huge audience. It was a big title fight in itself. The fact that it's helped us get here, as I say, it's a happy bonus. But at the same time, even if all doors were closed, you still would have got the best performance from us. Yeah. But just to come back to that question of, did we think they were going to be that special? I don't know if it ever necessarily goes through your head. Something like that's going to be remembered, maybe a little bit more now. But it goes to speak for how important and how special the takeover events are. I think you could go into the WWE back catalogue and just scroll through it with your eyes closed and pick any given takeover on any given day, and it'll hold up against any event anywhere in the world.
One of the things that we were quite lucky about was we got our heads screwed on, I guess, where before we got the opportunity to come out here and live out here, we both bought homes. So whilst this was all happening, we still had a base to go back to. So it was surreal at first. It was one of them because obviously, if you look back at how it's originally started with the lockdowns, we were told 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So everyone was kind of told that 3-week thing. So we were all like, 3 weeks, maybe we'll be back for that WrestleMania takeover. Mm-hmm. And obviously I remember being at home watching WrestleMania on TV when there was, I think for me, that's when it really hit how serious it was, because in my own, self-deluded mindset, like wrestling, is such an important thing for me. Like, I'm hearing all these things about, COVID around the world, and I'm like, I hear so much stuff on the news every day. So how bad is it really? Because I haven't seen it, and it was only when I saw WrestleMania had no one in attendance that it really made me go, oh, okay, this is super, okay, this is not going away anytime soon. But like, it was, frustrating at times, but at the same time, we always, we didn't get lost in the fact that we were just stuck at home and just, we're here and this is it. It was always thinking ahead as in like, well, at some point in the future, we're going to be flying out. We're super thankful for, WWE's HR management department, because they'd always like reach out to us to see how we're doing. And it was only, just those little things of saying like, how you doing is at that moment in time when you can see the product is still ticking over, still moving, and people are getting opportunities and we're sat at home. Just having that, quick back and forth mm-hmm. is, the light at the end of the tunnel, essentially. So it was, that was saving grace. We knew it was going to happen at some point. We were always studying on the product itself and how it's changing, because obviously it's drastically changed over the past year and a half. And then also, it was the first time. I didn't really notice this on myself until about 2 weeks in. Before we got locked down, we were flying back and forth every week to do NXT TV. And we were also dropping our stuff off at an apartment that, luckily, the WWE helped us out with out here for the time being. So we didn't have to, pay for anything there. We were very grateful for that. But we were on our last trip. So we had all of our stuff pretty much out here. Right. But we were, flying on a Tuesday, resting on a Wednesday, flying on a Thursday, and sometimes we were wrapping up our independent schedule on a Friday and Saturday. So our weeks were like, go, go, go. We really didn't have much time at home. And then as soon as everything kind of locked down, right, we're locked down, and then the actual, the UK actually went into lockdown as well. That's when I actually, for the first time since I was 12, didn't wrestle at least once a week. And it was one of them where I definitely do think, because, luckily, touch wood, I've never been injured, so I've never had to have downtime. It was the first time my body went, oh, thank God. Like, thank you. So in a weird way, it was great for my body, because my body definitely needed it at some point, especially with the style of wrestling we do. And then secondly, we were always thinking ahead and watching the product, and how we're coming back and what do we want to change when we come back. And you never, it still happens now, we don't go, okay, this is us, this is our act, this is GYB, this is us for 10 years, because that's when, as a viewer yourself, that's when, oh, it's the same thing, you get bored, you know what I mean?
I was getting worried though. I told all my friends and family that I was moving to the States to go and be a big superstar wrestler, and then we got stopped by the pandemic. Started being worried that I was going to be that guy in the pub when I'm an old man telling everyone that I was this close to making it. But it was out of my hands. It wasn't my fault. I was going to be on WWF television. If you look throughout the history of wrestling, anytime a wrestler's left to his own devices and left with his thoughts, where he's not allowed that creative outlet of actually wrestling, what tends to happen is they actually come back better. You'll hear a lot of guys say it, like you can use someone like a Shawn Michaels for an example. Everyone thought that Shawn Michaels was incredible. He was top of the bill. He was main event in WrestleManias. And then he had a severe back injury and he was gone for years. But then it can be argued that when he came back from that injury, that was the best Shawn Michaels. And when you say that to any other sports fan, that doesn't really make sense. How can someone go away with such a serious injury and come back better? It's because of the unique nature of what we do. When you're given that time to think and to go over some extra details, not only does it make your work better, not only does it make you better prepared, but I think it does also light that fire underneath you where you think, I'm not going to take it for granted anymore. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines and wait. I'm not going to rest on my laurels. The pandemic has proved to everyone that maybe we're not as in control as we all thought. Maybe things can still get taken away from us. So whilst we have anything, we might as well make the most of it. I think that's a big thing that shines through. And just very quickly to add to that, I think it's also a testament to the coaches at the PC and the guys that are backstage at WWE. We in the NXT UK, we did have some of the coaches coming over, and they're always as helpful as they can possibly be. They get involved as much as they can possibly be, but that would be for a week and a month. Whereas now we have that access to these coaches at the touch of a button every single day at the PC, and it's contagious. And their influence is contagious, and they get us all fired up. They point us in the right direction. I do believe this is the best work that we've ever done. And I also believe that what's coming next is going to be even better.
I do think there's a sort of real push as well. I know personally, in the sense that like we've moved out in this pandemic. We've not been able to see friends and family since November last year. And like obviously it's great. Congratulations, you're on NXT TV. But for me personally, it's kind of like, well, what's worse, getting here, not getting here, or getting here and then getting so relaxed and lazy that you just fall through the cracks. And that's purely because, oh, well, I've made it, sort of thing. And that's something I always put pressure on myself all the time. Like, if I'm leaving my family, if I'm leaving my friends, and, you know, essentially I'm uprooting my life to another country for a reason, any reason, it has to be worth it. And that's something that has to be something that I put forward. Because obviously, like, you know, as Jack said, the coaches are so passionate, and they will always help, but it's really up to us and how we take that information in and apply it. You know,
you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it a good wrestler. If there's one thing I'm used to, it's fans from within the UK overreacting to things at my expense. So I'm more than used to it. It's weird being over here because there's a little bit of a disconnect. You know, I watched the game outside Gators Bar on Lake Baldwin, absolutely sweating me box off because it was boiling hot and I had to sit outside because I had my dog with me. And I'm watching it at I think it was like 3 p.m. or something like that, in a big sports bar where absolutely nobody else was watching it. They were all watching basketball or all the other sports that were on the different screens. I had to request it several times. So we don't necessarily see the feedback as much as you would if we were actually still over in the UK. Instead, we just get some side glances from people that don't understand that what we're watching is football, not their hand egg rip off. But it just is what it is. I think it's one of the things that's so unique about football culture, and that's what makes the UK wrestling fans so unique as well. And that comes through with the NXT UK product. It's such a big part of football, just ripping into each other, having a laugh at each other's expense. If you took that away from football, I don't know if it'd be as fun as it is. I like to think we're going to place right back up top again. You know, this was one of the more difficult seasons in recent memory due to all of the injuries that came in and the high expectations coming off the back of our best season that we've had in 30 odd years. And there was a lot of bad. I'm trying to get my words out here. Sorry. A lot of fans were very unhappy midway through the season when things were slipping and cracks were appearing. But when you're now, with hindsight being 2020, when you can now take that step back and look back on it, I think it's difficult to say that was a bad season, given everything that happened, given all of the high-profile injuries that we had to work around. All of these extra things happened, and we still managed to finish strong. We still managed to qualify for all of the major competitions. And if we can do that with all of these setbacks, then a full health team coming in 100%, I think we're going to be just as unstoppable as we were 2 years ago. That's the hope anyway. And that's what we're still going to believe as we go into next season.